Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters, and welcome back to the Islamic Shahada channel. South Korea stands as a symbol of modern perfection, a nation defined by its technological brilliance, cultural exports, and aesthetic precision. From the global phenomenon of K-pop to the cinematic mastery of Korean dramas, the country has perfected the art of image. Every element of its culture, the polished idols, the flawless visuals, the disciplined public conduct, reflects an obsession with excellence and appearance. Yet beneath this pursuit lies a growing void. Despite its remarkable progress, South Korea faces one of the highest rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide in the developed world. According to the Korea Institute for Health and Social Affairs, 2025, over one-third of young South Koreans report feeling spiritually lost amid material success. The very system that celebrates perfection has left many questioning purpose, meaning, and identity. In this climate, an unexpected spiritual awakening has begun to emerge. A quiet minority, young professionals, students, and intellectuals, are turning toward Islam, seeking a deeper sense of peace and discipline. The Korean Muslim Federation, 2025, reported that 17 South Koreans converted to Islam during Ramadan alone, adding to a Muslim population that now exceeds 200,000 nationwide. For many, Islam represents what modern Korea has forgotten: stillness, humility, and moral clarity in a world obsessed with performance. Their conversions are not acts of rebellion, but reflections of a deeper longing: the desire to balance outward perfection with inner peace. The story of Islam in South Korea is often overshadowed by the nation's rapid modernization and its dominant religious traditions. Yet, its roots reach back more than 7 decades, intertwined with one of the most defining moments in modern Korean history, the Korean War. Islam first entered the Korean peninsula in the early 1950s, not through missionaries or merchants, but through the Turkish Brigade, which was part of the United Nations forces deployed during the Korean War, 1950 to 1953. These Turkish soldiers, devout Muslims, not only fought alongside South Koreans, but also left a deep impression on the local population through their conduct, generosity, and discipline. For many Koreans who encountered them, it was their first exposure to Islam, a faith unfamiliar yet compelling in its sense of brotherhood and humility. In 1955, only 2 years after the armistice, a small group of Korean Muslims formally established the Korea Muslim Federation, KMF. This marked the institutional beginning of Islam in the Republic of Korea. Though the Muslim population at that time numbered only a few dozen, the creation of the KMF signaled a crucial step: a conscious effort to preserve and nurture an emerging Muslim identity within a rapidly modernizing, largely non-Muslim society. The 1960s and 1970s witnessed gradual growth, largely supported by South Korea's strengthening diplomatic and economic relations with Middle Eastern nations. South Korean engineers, construction workers, and professionals working in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates during the 1970s oil boom were introduced to Islamic culture firsthand. Many returned home with new understandings, and in some cases, with new faith. A landmark moment came in 1976 with the completion of the Seoul Central Mosque in Itaewon. Funded by donations from the Islamic world, particularly from Saudi Arabia, this mosque became the symbolic heart of Islam in Korea. More than just a place of worship, it served as a hub for dialogue, education, and interfaith understanding. It was here that Friday prayers were first held in an organized way. Arabic and Quranic classes began, and Islamic festivals such as Eid al-Fitr were celebrated publicly. For the first time, Islam had a visible and architectural presence in the capital of South Korea. Through the 1980s and 1990s, the Muslim community remained small but resilient. The population, consisting mostly of foreign workers, students, and a handful of Korean converts, grew slowly, reaching a few thousand by the turn of the millennium. During this period, the KMF and local Muslim associations focused on building infrastructure, small prayer rooms at universities, halal food networks, and student societies that introduced Islam in academic settings. Despite limited visibility, these early efforts planted the seeds of what would later become a dynamic, multicultural Muslim presence. The slow and steady expansion of the community also coincided with South Korea's own transformation, from a war-torn nation to one of the world's leading economies. The presence of Islam, though marginal, became part of Korea's broader engagement with globalization and cultural diversity. By the early 2000s, as international travel and study abroad programs expanded, young Koreans began encountering Islam more directly through academic exchanges, business partnerships, and digital media. Islam was no longer confined to the image of Turkish soldiers or foreign workers. It began to appear in Korean discourse as part of a global reality. Today, in 2025, historians and sociologists view this early period, from the 1950s to the early 2000s, as the formative foundation of Islam in South Korea. The efforts of the first generation of Korean Muslims, supported by foreign communities and embassies, ensured that Islam was not just a passing fad curiosity, but a faith with roots, institutions, and continuity. In recent years, a subtle yet profound spiritual curiosity has begun to emerge among South Korea's younger generation. This growing interest in Islam rarely begins in mosques or religious institutions. It starts online. Platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, where Korean language content about Islam has multiplied since 2022, have become the new gateways to understanding the faith. Influencers, travel vloggers, and Korean Muslims who share their daily lives, from modest fashion to Ramadan routines, have created a digital space where Islam feels approachable, even relatable, to non-Muslims. Sociologists have coined a term for this phenomenon: Islam-curious youth. These are young Koreans who are not religious in the conventional sense, but who explore Islamic teachings out of intellectual and emotional curiosity. Many of them come from a generation shaped by relentless social pressure to achieve, to conform, and to maintain the image of perfection so deeply embedded in Korean culture. The country's hyper-competitive education system, rigid beauty standards, and long working hours have produced a generation materially successful but spiritually fatigued. In this context, Islam's emphasis on balance, mizan, modesty, and purpose resonates deeply. According to a 2024 survey by Hankook University's Institute for Religious Studies, nearly 9% of Korean respondents aged 18 to 30 said they had actively searched for information about Islam within the past year, a significant increase from only 3% in 2017. This suggests not a sudden wave of conversion, but a widening window of spiritual exploration. Many are drawn to the idea of prayer as mindfulness, fasting as discipline, and submission, Islam, as inner peace rather than external control. The shift is also fueled by South Korea's growing international exposure. Korean students studying abroad, local workers engaging with Muslim colleagues, and friendships formed through global online communities all contribute to a new kind of cross-cultural understanding. Islam is no longer seen solely through the lens of global politics or stereotypes perpetuated by Western media. Instead, it's being reintroduced quietly as a personal path toward meaning and mental equilibrium. For many young Koreans, Islam offers what their society often neglects: stillness in the middle of motion. The daily rhythm of prayer, the act of lowering one's ego before God, and the rejection of vanity appeal to those exhausted by the pressure to perform and to be perfect. As one Korean content creator who embraced Islam in late 2024 put it, "In a world where everything is about appearance, Islam taught me to see beyond the mirror." On March 1, 2025, the first day of Ramadan 1446 AH, a remarkable event took place at Seoul Central Mosque. 17 young South Koreans publicly embraced Islam, each reciting the Shahada before a gathering of local and international Muslims. This event, though modest in scale, carried deep symbolic weight. It demonstrated that Islam in South Korea is no longer confined to immigrant communities or foreign workers, but is increasingly finding resonance among native Koreans themselves. The group's journey began in February 2025, when they enrolled in a 4-week Introduction to Islam program organized by the Korea Muslim Federation, KMF. The course covered fundamental Islamic beliefs, daily prayers, and readings from the Quran, as well as discussions about faith, discipline, and personal peace. Participants described being drawn not only to Islam's spiritual clarity, but also to its emphasis on moral balance and social compassion, values they found lacking in modern urban life. The conversion ceremony was led by Imam Ahmed Kim, one of the few native Korean imams serving in the country. The atmosphere was deeply emotional, yet serene, filled with quiet reflection as each participant repeated the Shahada. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Witnesses reported that many in attendance were moved to tears. Among the converts, a 26-year-old university student shared his motivation. "I found peace where I least expected, in Islam. I was searching for meaning, not rules. Islam gave me both, structure and serenity." His words resonated widely across Korean social media platforms, sparking renewed curiosity about Islam among young people. Local Muslim leaders later described the event as part of a larger trend. Over the past few years, the number of Korean converts has been steadily rising, especially among educated youth and professionals. In 2024 alone, more than 150 Koreans officially registered their conversion with the KMF, the highest figure recorded in the Federation's history. The story of these 17 individuals during Ramadan 2025 has since become a reference point in South Korea's ongoing interfaith dialogue. It highlights not only the quiet spiritual transformation taking place among Koreans, but also the broader message that Islam's presence in the country is deepening, not through persuasion or politics, but through personal discovery and reflection. In 2025, Islam remains a minority religion in South Korea, but one whose quiet expansion has become increasingly difficult to ignore. According to the Korea Muslim Federation, KMF, there are now an estimated 200,000 Muslims living in the country, representing roughly 0.4% of South Korea's total population of just over 51 million. This figure includes a diverse demographic composition: foreign professionals, students, migrant workers, and approximately 2,000 native Korean converts who have embraced Islam through personal study, exposure to international cultures, or social connections with Muslim communities. While these numbers may appear modest compared to the Christian or Buddhist populations, they represent a steady and unprecedented growth over the last 2 decades. In 2015, South Korea recorded just 15 registered mosques and around 100 musalla, or small prayer halls. A decade later, that number has expanded to 24 official mosques and more than 260 prayer spaces distributed across major cities such as Seoul, Busan, Daegu, Incheon, and Gwangju. The increase reflects not only the rising number of Muslims, but also a more open and organized approach to religious infrastructure. The Seoul Central Mosque, established in 1976, continues to serve as the symbolic and administrative heart of the Muslim community. Yet the recent growth extends far beyond Itaewon's familiar skyline. In 2025, new prayer halls have emerged within university campuses, technology parks, shopping districts, and residential areas. Several universities, including Seoul National University, Hanyang University, and KAIST, have designated Muslim-friendly facilities, complete with ablution areas and halal-certified cafeterias. These institutional changes signal a subtle but real shift in South Korea's religious landscape. Islam is becoming part of public life, not just a private faith. The demographics of Islam in South Korea reveal a story of multicultural transformation. The majority of Muslims in the country still consist of immigrants and expatriates from Indonesia, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Turkey, and Arab countries. However, the number of Korean-born Muslims has been rising steadily, particularly among younger generations. Their conversion stories, often shared through social media platforms like YouTube and Instagram, have sparked widespread discussion. In March 2025, during the first week of Ramadan, 17 young South Koreans embraced Islam in a public ceremony at the Seoul Central Mosque. The event, covered by several local media outlets, became symbolic of a broader awakening, an indication that Islam, once perceived as a foreign religion, is increasingly seen as a personal and intellectual choice among native Koreans. This growth is not explosive, but organic, unfolding through friendships, education, marriage, and cross-cultural exchange. It mirrors a generational quest for meaning in a society characterized by intense competition, high suicide rates, and a pervasive sense of loneliness. While South Korea's religious demographics are dominated by the unaffiliated, now estimated at nearly 60%, Islam stands out as a faith that attracts those seeking structure, peace, and moral clarity in an era of digital overload and social disconnection. Economically and socially, the government's gradual recognition of Muslim needs has played a key role in facilitating this expansion. Since 2022, the Seoul Metropolitan Government's Salam Seoul initiative has promoted Muslim tourism and halal certification. By 2025, there are over 95 halal-certified restaurants nationwide, with more than 60 located in the capital alone. Major tourist destinations such as Jeju Island, Busan's Haeundae district, and Seoul's Gangnam area now include dedicated prayer rooms and multilingual information centers about halal facilities. This infrastructure supports not only visiting Muslims, but also the everyday lives of local believers. Companies like Korean Air and Hyundai have begun offering halal meal options, while several convenience store chains have introduced halal-certified snacks and instant foods. Even national events such as the Korea Muslim Culture Festival, first launched in 2019, have expanded significantly by 2025, drawing thousands of visitors annually from both Muslim and non-Muslim backgrounds. From an academic perspective, the numbers reveal more than just demographic trends. They indicate a shift in perception, from viewing Islam as a distant foreign belief to recognizing it as part of South Korea's growing cultural pluralism. Scholars at the Korea Institute for Religion and Culture Studies, KIRKS, note that Islam's rise parallels South Korea's increasing exposure to the Muslim world through trade, education, and migration. In 2025, over 20,000 South Koreans are living and working in Gulf countries, while thousands of international Muslim students study in Korean universities. This two-way exchange fosters understanding and normalizes Islam's presence in both social and academic spaces. Still, the Muslim population remains a tiny fraction of South Korea's religious mosaic, dwarfed by Christianity's 27% and Buddhism's 15%. Yet the symbolic significance of this small community far exceeds its numerical size. Islam's growth challenges deeply rooted stereotypes about Korean cultural homogeneity and religious uniformity. It reflects the emergence of a new spiritual narrative, one that balances modernity with faith, technology with transcendence. In the words of a KMF spokesperson during a 2025 Interfaith Forum in Seoul, "The numbers are not large, but their meaning is profound. In a society built on perfection, Islam reminds us of humility. In a world driven by success, it brings balance. That is why it continues to grow quietly, but steadily." South Korea's entertainment industry is one of the most powerful cultural machines in the world, a global empire built on beauty, discipline, and the constant pursuit of perfection. K-pop idols and drama stars represent flawless images that millions admire, both in Korea and abroad. But behind this glamorous surface lies a system driven by pressure, competition, and emotional exhaustion. It celebrates physical beauty and fame, but often neglects inner peace. In contrast, Islam promotes a completely different set of values: modesty instead of exposure, humility instead of vanity, and spiritual peace instead of public approval. For many young Koreans, this difference has become a point of deep reflection. The entertainment world, with its strict diets, constant online judgment, and pressure to appear perfect, leaves many people feeling empty. In recent years, a number of former K-pop trainees, models, and social media influencers have spoken about searching for meaning after leaving the industry. Some of them said they first encountered Islam through translated verses of the Quran found in online discussions about mindfulness and inner peace. One verse in particular from Surah Ar-Ra'd deeply resonates with many. Truly, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. In a country where daily life is shaped by algorithms, trends, and expectations, this message offers a kind of calm that feels rare and authentic. In 2024, Korean media outlets even reported anonymous stories from people in the entertainment field who quietly began studying Islam, attracted to its discipline, sincerity, and focus on self-control. For them, fame and recognition were not enough. They were seeking truth and peace within. Interestingly, this connection between K-pop and Islam is also being shaped by fans. Online, both Korean and international fan communities have created videos and posts comparing the emotional depth of K-pop lyrics to Islamic values, highlighting themes like patience, gratitude, and forgiveness. Some fan-edited videos even combine Quranic verses with K-drama scenes, unintentionally creating reflections about faith and meaning through pop culture. While not religious in intent, these creations have opened conversations about spirituality in unexpected spaces. By 2025, this trend has become more noticeable, especially among university students who study religion and media. A 2025 survey from Yonsei University found that 14% of young Koreans aged 20 to 29 said they had encountered Islamic content through K-pop-related videos or online discussions. What once seemed like two completely different worlds, K-pop's glamorous stage and Islam's quiet spirituality, are now subtly connected through digital curiosity. Daily life for Muslims in South Korea remains a complex balance between faith and adaptation. While Islam is still a minority religion, representing less than 1% of the population, its visibility and acceptance have grown significantly over the past decade. What was once seen as an unfamiliar or foreign faith is gradually becoming part of South Korea's social and cultural landscape, particularly in major cities such as Seoul, Busan, and Daegu. One of the clearest signs of this change can be seen in the rapid expansion of halal infrastructure. As of 2025, there are now over 250 halal-certified restaurants across the country, according to the Korea Muslim Federation, KMF, a remarkable increase from fewer than 100 a decade ago. These restaurants range from Middle Eastern and South Asian cuisine to Korean fusion dishes adapted to Islamic dietary laws. Major convenience store chains and online delivery platforms have also begun to label halal products more clearly, signaling a growing awareness among businesses of Muslim consumer needs. Public facilities have likewise adapted. Nearly every major university in South Korea, including Seoul National University, Yonsei, and KAIST, now provides dedicated prayer rooms for Muslim students. Airports such as Incheon, Gimhae, and Jeju International have followed suit, offering prayer spaces and halal-certified dining options for international travelers. These developments reflect both government support for tourism and the increasing domestic presence of Muslim residents and students. Despite these improvements, challenges persist. Many Korean Muslims, especially converts, continue to face social misconceptions and subtle prejudice, often stemming from limited exposure to Islamic practices. Some report discomfort wearing hijab or observing prayer times in public, citing stares or occasional misunderstandings. Media portrayals of Islam, though improving, still struggle to separate global political narratives from the daily realities of peaceful Muslim life in Korea. In response, local Muslim communities have become more proactive. The Korea Muslim Federation and regional Islamic centers regularly organize educational workshops, community iftars during Ramadan, and open mosque days to introduce Islam to the wider public. These initiatives aim to build bridges through dialogue rather than debate, focusing on shared values such as kindness, honesty, and respect. University Muslim student associations also play a vital role, hosting interfaith discussions and cultural exchange events that help demystify Islamic practices for their Korean peers. Every Friday, Seoul Central Mosque remains the heart of Korean Muslim life, a gathering place for believers from dozens of nationalities. Yet, beyond its walls, smaller prayer halls have quietly appeared in apartment complexes, offices, and even coffee shops across the country. In Daegu, for instance, a growing Muslim population has established a neighborhood prayer space supported by local residents, Muslim and non-Muslim alike. Such examples show that Islam in Korea is no longer confined to formal institutions. It is being lived quietly and confidently in everyday spaces. Education and social media have become powerful tools in shaping modern perceptions of Islam in South Korea. Over the past few years, Islamic educational platforms in the Korean language have expanded significantly, offering accessible content for both Muslims and non-Muslims. YouTube channels such as Korean Muslim TV and Islamic Bridge Korea now attract millions of monthly viewers, providing lectures, Q&A sessions, and lifestyle content that blend Islamic values with Korean culture. Several universities, including Seoul National University and Hankook University of Foreign Studies, have introduced academic courses on Islamic civilization, Middle Eastern politics, and interfaith dialogue. These programs reflect a growing intellectual curiosity and a more institutionalized approach to understanding Islam beyond stereotypes. Social media plays an even larger role in shaping public awareness. On platforms like Instagram and TikTok, young Korean Muslims share their faith journeys, daily practices, and reflections in relatable and aesthetic ways. Islam is increasingly presented not as a rigid doctrine, but as a spiritual and emotional experience, one that aligns with personal growth, mindfulness, and authenticity. In recent years, the South Korean government has begun to recognize that Islam is not merely a matter of religion, but also an avenue for significant economic opportunity. With a global Muslim population surpassing 2 billion people and an estimated $3 trillion USD halal market by 2030, South Korea, known for its innovation and export-oriented economy, is now positioning itself to engage with this growing demographic through what policymakers call the Korea Halal Strategy 2030. Launched in late 2024, the Korea Halal Strategy 2030 is a nationwide initiative designed to expand the country's halal production capacity, improve certification systems, and enhance South Korea's reputation as a Muslim-friendly tourism and business destination. The plan is jointly coordinated by the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, the Korea Tourism Organization KTO, and the Ministry of SMEs and Startups. Its goal is twofold: to make Korean exports, from cosmetics to processed foods, compliant with halal standards, and to make the domestic tourism environment more inclusive for Muslim travelers. Under this strategy, the government is providing financial incentives and certification support for local companies seeking halal approval from internationally recognized bodies such as JAKIM, Malaysia, and MUIS, Singapore. Several major Korean conglomerates, including CJ Cheil Jadang, Lotte, and Amore Pacific, have since announced halal product lines for markets in Southeast Asia and the Middle East. Korean universities are also collaborating with Islamic research institutes to develop scientific standards for halal biochemistry and food technology, ensuring long-term credibility. Parallel to this economic vision, the tourism sector has undergone a quiet but meaningful transformation. By 2025, more than 150 hotels and tourist destinations have earned Muslim-friendly ratings under the KTO's Muslim Welcome program. Cities such as Seoul, Busan, and Jeju now feature dedicated halal dining guides, multilingual prayer maps, and even virtual reality apps designed to help Muslim tourists navigate Korean cities comfortably. During Ramadan 2025, Seoul's Salam Seoul campaign attracted record attention, with city officials collaborating with the Seoul Central Mosque and international Muslim influencers to promote inclusivity through digital media. A new phrase has emerged from this convergence of policy, culture, and global engagement: Halal Hallyu. This term, a blend of halal and Hallyu, meaning Korean wave, captures the next evolution of South Korea's soft power. It represents a movement where traditional Korean culture, cuisine, and entertainment coexist harmoniously with Islamic values and consumer expectations. From K-beauty brands marketing halal-certified skincare to entertainment companies producing globally sensitive content, Halal Hallyu reflects a form of cultural diplomacy that transcends religion and markets alike. Critics note that the government's approach remains largely economic rather than spiritual, designed to attract consumers rather than promote understanding. Yet even within this pragmatic framework, meaningful side effects have emerged. The visibility of Muslim tourists, halal restaurants, and Arabic language signage across Seoul has made Islam more familiar to everyday Koreans. University seminars and civic dialogues on cultural coexistence have become more common, and public attitudes toward Muslims are slowly shifting from curiosity to acceptance. By aligning economic ambition with global cultural awareness, South Korea has created an environment where Islamic visibility and economic strategy coexist without conflict. While the state's motivation may be market-driven, the social impact is undeniably deeper, fostering dialogue, tolerance, and mutual respect. As the Korea Halal Strategy 2030 progresses, it signals not only a transformation in trade and tourism, but also a subtle redefinition of what it means to be a modern, inclusive nation in an interconnected world. At the heart of South Korea's growing interest in Islam lies a deeply emotional and personal dimension: the quiet stories of individual transformation. These are not tales of spectacle, but of sincere inner searching. One young art student, for instance, discovered Islam through her fascination with Arabic calligraphy. What began as an artistic exploration evolved into a spiritual encounter. She described the rhythmic beauty of Quranic verses as a visual form of peace. Another story tells of a former K-pop trainee who, after years of chasing perfection and approval, found tranquility in the structured rhythm of daily prayer. For him, Islam offered balance, a spiritual anchor in the fast-paced world of Korean entertainment. There is also the case of a linguistics student who began studying Arabic purely out of academic curiosity. Yet, as he immersed himself in the language of the Quran, he found meaning that transcended grammar and syntax. It wasn't just a language, he said, it was a dialogue with the divine. Looking ahead to 2030, Islam in South Korea is projected to continue its steady and organic growth. Current estimates suggest that the Muslim population, including both foreign residents and native converts, could reach around 300,000 people by the end of the decade. Each year, between 100 to 200 Koreans are reported to embrace Islam, driven by curiosity, personal reflection, and the growing accessibility of Islamic knowledge in their own language. This gradual increase is mirrored by the expansion of Muslim student associations on university campuses. as well as the emergence of young local Muslim families who practice their faith openly while engaging with broader society. Their presence helps normalize Islam within Korea's multicultural landscape, where religion is increasingly viewed as a matter of personal exploration rather than collective identity. By 2025, Islam is no longer seen purely as a foreign faith. Instead, it is becoming recognized as one thread in the diverse spiritual fabric of modern Korea, a nation balancing high-tech progress with renewed attention to moral and existential questions. South Korea is known to the world as a land of technology, entertainment, and relentless innovation, a nation that moves fast and shines bright. Yet beneath the surface of neon lights and digital perfection, a quieter story is unfolding. A spiritual awakening that grows not through spectacle, but through sincerity. Islam in South Korea is not a mass movement. It is a subtle, deeply personal journey. One person at a time, one heart at a time. Each individual who finds faith adds a small but meaningful line to the nation's evolving spiritual history. In a society driven by progress and performance, Islam offers a countercurrent, a call to stillness, reflection, and connection with the divine. As one young Korean convert beautifully put it, faith isn't something you find in the noise, it's what you discover in silence. And in that silence, amid the rush of modern life, a growing number of Koreans are beginning to listen and to rediscover what it means to find peace, purpose, and presence in the heart of faith. Thanks for watching until the end. I hope it was useful. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.